Flipped. The dinner. By the time I got home, I knew it would be selfish of me to boycott the Lost Kids dinner party. My mother had already spent a lot of time humming over pie recipes and going through her closet for something suitable to wear. She'd even bought a new shirt for Dad and I scrutinized what the boys intended to wear. Obviously, she was looking forward to the dinner. Not that I really understood that, but I didn't want to ruin everything by telling her about my newfound hatred of Bryce. And Dad felt bad enough about David already. The last thing he needed was to hear about crackpot comments made by immature 8th graders. So that night, I went through the motions of baking pies with my mother and convinced myself that I was doing the right thing. One dinner couldn't change anyone's life. I just had to get through it. Friday at school, I avoided the blue-eyed bread the best I could. But that night, as I got dressed, I found myself staring at the painting my father had given me and became furious all over again. Bryce had never been a friend to me, ever. He hadn't made a stand for the tree. He had thrown away my eggs. And he made fun of me at my uncle's expense. Why was I playing along like we were jolly friends and neighbors? When my mother called that it was time to go, I went out in the hall with every intention of telling her that I could not go to the Lost Kids for dinner. But she looked so lovely and happy that I couldn't. I just couldn't. I took a deep breath, wrapped up a pie, and shuffled across the street behind my brothers and parents. Chad answered the door. Maybe I should be mad at him too for telling the Lost Kids about my uncle. But I wasn't. I hadn't asked him not to tell, and he certainly wasn't the one making fun of David. Mrs. Lusky came up behind Chad, whistles in, and fluttered about. And even though she had quite a bit of makeup on, I was surprised to see the blueness of bags beneath her eyes. Then Mrs. Lusky and my mother went off with the pies. My brothers vanished down the hall with Linda, and my father followed Chad into the living room. And wasn't it just Andy? They left me alone in the foyer with Bryce. He said hi to me and I lost it. I spun on him, snapping, "Don't you speak to me. I overheard you and Garrett in the library and I don't want to talk to you now or ever." I started to walk into the living room, but he stopped me. Julie, wait," he whispered. "I'm not the bad guy here. That was Garrett. That was all Garrett." I glared at him. "I know what I heard." No, you don't." I was feeling bad about, the eggs and what I said about your yard. I didn't know anything about your uncle or what kind of situation your family was in, okay? I just wanted to talk to someone about it. Our eyes locked for a minute, and for the first time, the blueness of his didn't freeze on my brain. I heard you laugh. He made a joke about me being a retard, and you laughed. Julie, you don't understand. I wanted to punch him. Really, I did. But we were in the library. So instead, you laughed. He shrugged and looked miserable and sheepish. I left him, just walked into the living room and left him. If he was making it up, he was quite an actor. If he was telling the truth, then Chad was right. He was a coward. Either way, I didn't want to be anywhere near him. I stood beside my father and tried to follow his discussion with Chad about something they had both read in the paper. My father was saying, "But what he's proposing requires perpetual motion machine, so it's not possible." Chad replied, "Maybe in the context of what scientists know now, but do you really like completely?" At that moment, I was feeling absolutely no scientific curiosity, but in a desperate attempt to block Bryce Lusky from my mind, I asked, "What's a perpetual motion machine?" My father and Chad glanced at each other, chuckled, then shrugged, giving me the sense that they had just agreed to let me into a sacred club. My father explained, "It's a machine that runs without any external power source. No electricity, no fuel, no water propulsion, nothing." Chad glanced over my shoulder and asked rather absently, "You think that's a doable thing?"